Greetings and salutations. My name is Tiedra, visionary of Kingsskid. I'm excited about our guest today, Keonna, my purpose partner. She's the founder of Chasing After You. So with her being here, we are talking about God's restoration in our lives. And before we get started, I'm going to read her bio so y'all can know who we're talking to. We're going to talk to this jewel dropper. Keonna Shaw. She loves encouraging others. As a teenager, she's always been having instinct to uplift others. It is second nature. It came from her passion of writing. She can reach more people with her gift of writing. After seeking God and asking God what's her purpose, he gave her the name Chasing After You. So go check out her blog, Chasing After You. There, she can use her story, her life, and tries to encourage and equip others, and using scripture as the foundation. Keonna, thank you for joining.
You're welcome.
I'm super excited to have you. And on every video, I kid you not, on every video, I'm like saying I'm super, super excited. And I really mean it. I really do. So I thank you for saying yes. The topic of God's restoration is not an easy topic, especially with everything that's going on with this pandemic. Our economy needs to be restored. There are careers that need to be restored. There are families that need to be restored. There's so many things in our life that needs to be restored. Finances need to be, it's like, that's a whole nother thing. But the thing is, for us to have this conversation, I'm really excited because you know what it's like to personally go through of having something that you didn't expect to happen and then experiencing a certain pain only for God to surprise you and bring it back to you, potentially all within the same year. And I want to talk about that with you because that's one of the ultimate crowning moments is restoration. So thank you for saying yes.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being with me. So my first question I ask all of my guests is, what does living a crown life mean to you?
Living a crown life means to take what the devil meant for bad and turn it into purpose. And the reason why I say that is because of my background, my foundation, where I came from. My mom, she was a young teenage mother. My father, my biological father, he wasn't in my life. So by him not being there, I felt unworthy. I felt like I wasn't capable of being loved. So instead of that breaking me down, not having, not putting a hold on me, but just coming out of that saying that this is not going to be my story, like I'm going to rise above this. So just being able to take what was a bad situation and just depend on God to say, hey, what is my purpose? Like, what do you have for me? I know with my father not being there, I suffer with identity issues. So just being able to rise from that and still be able to encourage others to just let them know that, hey, you're not alone. Continue to seek God, and just that you're able to rise above it. That's what living a crown life means.
Okay. So now we're going to get into our topic. And I felt like you answered this question within your last question, but when it comes to having restoration or having God's restoration, like you were saying in your bio, in your opening, you came from a teen mother to where, you know, she was a teen mother, but your father, he wasn't there. And you said that that's not going to be you. For now, you to have two babies. Well, one, he's not a baby, but one, yeah, he's always a baby, but he's not a baby. He's like a grown man, a little grown man. But you have him, CJ, and then you have Carter on the way, and you are married. So you literally changed the trajectory of your family and your household. So I want to talk to you more and ask you more about what does God's restoration mean for you?
God's restoration, it means to me to basically just restore me from the broken place that I was in. That's basically what it means before I run into the rest of it.
Okay. No, I got you.
Okay.
I read your face. So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. No, I read your face. So I want you to tell us about a time where you experienced God's restoration. I want you to dive into what you was about to tell us.
Okay. So last year, some of you know, some of you don't, but last year we found out we were pregnant. And prior to that, earlier part of that year, like in January, I had major surgery. And that major surgery, I had a fibroid the size of a 6-month fetus. And once they went in to do the surgery, they found out I had endometriosis stage 4. So basically finding out I was pregnant in August, September was a miracle all by itself because of the surgery. So we found out I was pregnant, but the pregnancy, it started off bad because I was sick all the time, couldn't keep any food down, couldn't keep liquids down, going back and forth to the emergency room to get fluids, just body aching from, not being able to keep water inside of my body or food. So December 4th, I was a little bit over 16 weeks pregnant. And that night, the night before, I started basically going into preterm labor. I didn't know that's what's going on, but my body, it was like in pain, it was aching. I haven't experienced that before. So with that was going on, my water broke. The ambulance, they had to come, got to the hospital. They confirmed that, hey, the baby, which was our daughter, Zoe, she had no heartbeat. So after finding out that, I had to deliver her. And just going through that, after that happened, after I had her, they end up taking me directly into surgery because I had to have surgery. After waking up from surgery that next morning, I was really surprised. I was shocked at my attitude towards the situation. My first question I asked was, like, God, what do you want me to learn from this? Like, change my perspective, like help me to, and I'm gonna cry a little bit, but I asked him to change my perspective. Like, what do you want me to see? What do you want me to learn? I was really surprised and shocked of my faith. Like, I thought at that time, because before I had the surgery, we had been trying to, have a baby, and it just wasn't happening. And when we found out that we were pregnant, like, I was excited, I was happy. But after trying for so long, getting pregnant, going through that whole 16 weeks, being completely sick, helpless, not able to do anything, and giving birth to her, not being able to take her home. And for me to get up that next morning out of surgery to say, God, what do you want me to learn from this? Like, change my perspective. That was mind-blowing all by itself.
Yes, that is very mind-blowing, because I'm sitting here like, me and God would have had a fight before I even got to that part. I don't think I'm not going to even pretend. I wouldn't have woke up the next day and be like, God, what you want me to learn from this? It's like, me and him would have had the real conversation because, bruh, that I'm not okay with that. You know what I'm saying? So for you to have just that type of faith is bold, and that's what we could aspire to be. So when we go through something so traumatic is that, and so beautiful is that, it's beautiful and traumatic at the same time. But when we're going through something like that, we could still wake up with some type of faith and say, what is it that you want me to learn? Like, how you gonna use this for your glory?
Right.
Wow. So after you ask God, what do he want you to do? I mean, what did he say?
You are hilarious.
what he told you?
Okay, so after that, he gave me, I didn't quite put it all into action because I did go into a healing process with going into therapy. But on my blog, I started to share like pieces of what happened in order to like encourage others. So that's what he wants me to do and to continue to do, is to help other women that, you know, that has gone through, you know, pregnancy loss, pregnancy after loss, just to be a hope, you know, a beacon of light, just to let them know, hey, you're not in this alone. If you need someone to talk to, hey, I'm here. This is what I went through, just to have someone to share, you know, with and talk to, because a lot of times, you know, women, us as women, we don't share that part. Like, we don't talk about miscarriage, we don't share the details. But for me, like, if there's anyone out there that has gone through it, is going through it, like, I want to be that person. Hey, call me, like, you can email me, let me, you know, help you, let me give you some encouragement, you know, I can tell you what I went through, so that way that can help you, you know, as well.
Because when you first wrote about it on your blog, I was very surprised that it came so early. You know, I was like, oh, I didn't know it was coming this early. You know, I didn't, like, it came relatively fast than what I would have assumed, but you saw the transformation. Like, it was kind of like, as you were writing, you see your pain, but at the end of it, you saw your strength and how God gave you that strength to go through it. So that's the part that took me back, because I didn't know you were going to talk about it so early, and you probably didn't know that either. But you and God, y'all had a whole conversation. So earlier this year, we were on a Bible study call together with one of our other purpose partners. It's like a clique of us. We call each other purpose partners. And you mentioned that God told you that this time won't be like last time.
Yes. So going to therapy, my therapist, she had me to talk about Zoe, and she also had me to she asked me, are you gonna get, you know, do you plan to get pregnant again? I was like, do not mention the P word to me. But at that time, it was really just God reaffirming me what he had already been telling me. In my journal, I had already been writing. I was like, okay, God, I do not want to hear this, but this is what you're telling me. He was like, you will get pregnant again. He didn't say how soon. You will get pregnant again, but this time will not be like last time. You will carry to full term. You will not be sick. I have written this down, and every time someone would say it, I'd be like, look, I do not want to hear it. Do not say the P word. And actually, at the prayer brunch, that's when our other purpose partner, she was like, hey, you need to take a pregnancy test. Like, you know, you look like you're pregnant. I'm like, how can you tell me I look like I'm pregnant? I don't want to hear it. And I'm telling you, from that day after that, after we left, she texted me all that day until like 11 something at night. She was like, did you get a pregnancy test? no, I did not get a pregnancy test. So I had to go get one. And
that's the accountability we talking
right.
about. Yeah.
right. So I got the pregnancy test, and I'm like, I really didn't believe it. I'm like, this is like so soon. Like, literally, that happened December 4th. We found out March 7th. And by that time, I was already probably about 6 weeks already.
Okay.
So
talking about restoration.
Yes.
Talking about restoration and talking
Yes.
about the timeline. Like, God wasn't playing with you. That was a very quick turnaround.
Yes.
Okay. So after you found out that you all were pregnant, how did you all move forward in trusting God that this won't be like the last time? Because that can be scary. Like,
yes.
The turnaround was fast, everything happened so quick, but then it was just like, God, I trusted you last time too. So what's going on here? So how did you and your husband kind of faith your way through that to trust that it's full term?
Right. With me, to be honest, I struggled like every day. Even on my bathroom mirror, I have sticky notes to where I would have to get up every morning and just pray, like, dear Jesus, I speak that this pregnancy, will go full term. Like, I had to have those affirmations there. My husband, on the other hand, he was like, the same thing. This is not going to be like last time. He was like, you're going to be fine. You're going to have the baby. We're going to carry it to full term. And I'm like, really? Like, okay. But it was like different things that would happen that would put me back in that mind, in that mindset of, oh my God, like, I'm hurting. What does this mean? Like, I'm hurting. This happened last time. And I can't remember exactly when it was, but I know it was before the 16-week mark. The same thing I went through last time with the hurting, I did the exact same thing this time. And I'm like, no, God, you told me it's not going to be like this. And my husband, he got up, he prayed, and he was like, it's okay. He rubbed my stomach, he prayed, and a few minutes later, everything stopped. So his faith, from the very beginning, he was like, no, we're having this baby. But just with the traumatic side of things of what happened, every day, constantly, I would have to, hey, look, it's not going to be like last time. I pray, read, and continue going to therapy as well. As far as my son, CJ, he's been really excited. Oh, look, I just thought about it. Before we told him that I was pregnant, because we didn't want to tell him at first because, like, it was still new, it was still fresh, and he was there when everything was happening the last time. So we didn't want to tell him too early. A week before we told our son, CJ, hey, we're pregnant, he woke up one morning, he said, hey, Ma, I had a dream. And when he say that, I usually know what it means. I was like, what did you have a dream about? He was like, Ma, God gave us a second chance. Like, he gave us another baby. He was like, this time the baby's gonna make it. The baby's gonna live. When you come home from the hospital, the baby's coming home with us. He dreamed about birthday parties and everything. And when he was saying that to me, immediately, like, I started crying. And I called my husband. I was like, guess what CJ just said? And he had no clue. He didn't see the pregnancy test because the first two that I took, I threw them like straight in the trash. So he had no idea what was going on. But God spoke to him like through a dream, just showing him like, hey, everything is going to be okay this time. So he's been perfectly fine as well. So yeah.
supposed to be in the
No.
So so it's a few lessons that we could take from that, because even as you're talking about, even as like you're sharing your story about you in regards to your family and prayer, and in regards to the pregnancy, I'm thinking about that same thing happened with my career. So those same steps that you were taking in the affirmations on the wall, and I still have my affirmations on my mirror. They're on my mirror, and I use the dry erase marker.
Yeah.
And the dry erase marker is literally right by my faucet, just in case if I have to write something else. But it have like, I am crowned, I am worthy. Ed wrote, God is going to give you whatever your heart's desires. Right. And I went to another Bible study, and one thing that they said in that Bible study was, before there's a blessing, there's a breaking. Mm-hmm. And so as you're telling your story, I'm looking at my career, and my therapist was my career coach. Like, I had a career coach that we talked to, and her mission is to help Christian individuals in corporate. So I had the biblical aspect of my career with her, and that's something that she'll always tell me. Scripture says, I believe, but help my unbelief.
Right.
And that's also on my mirror, because there were days where I believed, but it was the unbelief, the part that it was just like, God, I don't know if you're going to be able to transition me from one industry to the next in the middle of a pandemic. Right. And for me, I was looking at all of these numbers and all of these statistics of how many people are unemployed. It's 1 million+ people unemployed. And when you think about it, I'm one of the million.
Right.
And and the numbers get a little smaller as you dive it down into industry and location, but that could be overwhelming. So I'm crying because it's tears of joy, because I understand the restoration piece from a career aspect of it, but to just even know that even your son had that type of faith, and God used him to speak through to y'all. Y'all didn't have to tell him. Like, God did that part for you. So it was just like, well, yeah, we might as well just go ahead and confirm the dream.
Right.
So with that, it's tears of joy. It's definitely
right.
But I just think that to understand that God can restore anything. He's not a God that's going to leave you hanging. He can restore your career. He could restore your family. He could restore your identity. Like, he can restore all those things. And that's why I invited you to share that, because I wanted to hear your story, and I wanted you to share it, but also show that there are parallels to the process as well. We went through the same birthing process. The only difference is I'm trying to birth a career and you birthing a baby. Right. That's it. That's the only difference.
Right.
So I do thank you for sharing that, and I thank you for your transparency in that, and to just give us details that may be sometimes hard to revisit, but I'm appreciative of that. So you, as the encourager you are, I want you to drop some jewels in our crowns for when we feel like we need God to restore something, but that unbelief still kicking in. What can we do?
Okay, I have 3 that I wrote down. And I say they're simple, but the first one is to seek God. I know it sounds like, oh, okay, yeah, that's easy, but like really seeking him, wanting him and nothing else. Like, hey, if you don't do this, I'm still going to serve you. I still love you. You're still
sold out.
Yes. So that's the first one. The second one, and all of these steps I have used. Number 2, I just said, just start. And what I would do when I couldn't pray or find the words to say out loud, I prayed through journaling. So that's the second one, is praying through journaling. when I was afraid to pray out loud. And also, number 3 is writing letters to yourself. I know it's weird for some people. They're like, I don't know what to say, or how do I know, if that's going to happen? It's called faith. Like, you can do it once a year. You can do it twice a year. At first, I started doing it every year. But now I do it every quarter. So just basically writing a letter to yourself, speaking those things in existence, like what you were hoping and believing God for, to do by that quarter, the end of the year. And I'm telling you, it will blow your mind.
Yes, I can attest to that one, because as you were talking, I was looking across my desk because I wrote a letter to myself, but I put sticky notes in it for every aspect of my life. It was a lot of colorful sticky notes. And the one thing that wasn't answered, I was like, in progress. So it was one of those things to where I could look and say, complete, in progress. Right. And the ones that were in progress were all related to my career.
Right.
All related. But everything else was, so I definitely agree to that, and I love that.
And that is it. That's all I have.
Okay, but no, I have another question for you.
Okay.
So one other question I wanted to ask you is, because we're big on community. Like that's another segment throughout Self-Improvement Month. But I wanted you to talk about how you having a community, the importance of having a community to cover you cover you in prayer, cover you and protect you, and cover you in a form to where like your business not gonna get out there. You know what I'm saying? Like the importance of having that covering and having the people to cover over you. So I want you to talk about the role that having covering and accountability played in your journey, even leading up to it.
Okay. I'm gonna start probably about 2 years ago. So that was me meeting my mentor, actually praying for her first, because I was at a place where I wanted to grow. I felt like I was stuck, like there's more for me to do, there's more for me to learn. And just praying for a mentor, her coming into my life and basically helping me along the way, bringing out or pulling out gifts in me that I knew I had, but the confidence was not there. So after going through that mentoring program and coming in contact with, like you said, the community, that's when I met you. I met you and so many others, but that was all new for me. Now I'm in a place where I'm growing. I'm also in a place where I never thought that I would be where I am right now. Having the covering, having the encouragement, the accountability partners to, say, hey, how are you doing with this? You're slacking on this, or you need to do this. I've never had that before. And with the praying and the interceding, you would say, or the people that know me, like, she grew up in church. I grew up in church, but a lot of the things, a lot of the covering the community, I did not experience that before. I never thought it was possible for me. Like, I didn't believe it because I didn't have it, So the importance is just like, I'm continuing to grow. Normally I would grow and then I'll come to a standstill, But now, since I have that community and that covering and the prayer warriors, and now I do have a church family that I did not have for 11, 12 years. But just having that church family there, and you know, the church members, just to, you know, say, hey, I'm praying for you, or just to, like, I've been going back and forth to the doctors, some know, and they would literally, when I talk to them and say, hey, my next doctor's appointment is this day, like, they would literally call me or text me and say, hey, I'm praying for you. And I'm like, like God, like, thank you. Like, even with that, with the covering and the community, is, you know, God showing me his love through, you know, through his people that he has given me.
And I always, the way that I introduced our friend, I said, if you ever need a friend to touch heaven when you came, everybody need one. Because the same way that she told you that you may be pregnant, she has done that to me a few times in regards to fasting. She'll be like, are you fasting? I was like, well, I was thinking about it. She was like, you probably need to fast. And it's like, okay, girl. So, and I love having the covering, because they get insight that you don't, and it's just, it's not one better than the other, it's this and that. And I think that you need that in order to live the crown life, because God speaks to us in different ways, and sometimes he can get his message through someone that we're close to, although we may not want to hear it, or we may not want to do it. Because I started out rough with fasting, like fasting, it was rough, but even having that accountability there, it was cool. So I think I know that wasn't a question that was originally planned, but I do thank you for answering that and providing your perspective. So thank you all for joining us. We are so excited to have you all through Self-Improvement Month. So stay tuned for more interviews and more jewel droppers and crownpreneurs that'll be dropping jewels in our crown, for us to not just secure our bag, but to secure the jewels, and to, most importantly, secure the crown that God has for us. Talk to y'all soon.